Welcome back to News Channel 3 Live at 9. They have helped people from President Bush, GW, Rudy Giuliani, you know, to his friends, GW.
We got you. I picked up on that. Okay.
Well, you know, I wanted to make a distinction between the first President Bush and the second. Colin Powell. That passion fruit has got me.
It's taken over, folks, so please bear with us here.
In addition, some of the most powerful business leaders in the world, and they have helped these folks be more effective public speakers.
And so it may seem odd that Jeanette and Roy Henderson say there's no such thing as public speaking. The couple took some time off from personal coaching to share their secrets in a brand new book. And Jeanette joins us this morning on News Channel 3 Live at 9. Sorry we don't have that drink for you over
we
here.
have a passion fruit and oyster shooter there for you, Jeanette.
It sounds very exciting. It's a little early in the morning for me.
I know the feeling.
I'll stick to my coffee if you don't mind.
How did this get started? Now, Roy, we know, was an actor.
Yes.
A professionally trained actor.
Yes.
So that kind of made, what was your background?
Well, I also started acting at a very young age as well, but then I went into stodgy things like banking and you know, and then I came around again. I went into radio, and then Roy and I met in the theater, and we actually did a lot of theater together for a long time. And then an interesting phenomenon happened. We had people of ordinary walks of life, like bankers and lawyers and executives and people like that, coming from the more stodgy side, right? And they were coming into our acting workshops to get training in how to be better presenters. And we thought, this is so odd. Well, you understood why actors go into an acting class, because they want to hone their skills, but why does somebody have to come in and be themselves?
So what type of misconceptions did some of these people probably have when they came into your classes?
Well, they came in with the idea that they wanted to be more animated and larger than life, and a lot of that is absolutely true. The problem is that a lot of people think that they have to do things much more differently when they're making a presentation, and there's really not that. Again, go back to the title of the book. There's no such thing as public speaking.
Now, what does that mean?
It's very simple. The premise is that when you're having a conversation with somebody, when you're having a one-on-one conversation, this is the strongest form of communication that we have. Talking one-on-one is the most persuasive and the most effective. The problem is that the things that we do in this kind of conversation, like good eye contact, like facing somebody, like using a good vocal range, all these other things, when you get more people involved, we kind of throw that by the wayside. We think there has to be some other way to do it.
Do we try to scatter that message, so to speak? We're thinking, well, we gotta have something out there for everybody.
Alex, that's exactly the problem. They try to scatter the message across everybody, and what you end up doing, particularly with eye contact, because you know how important eye contact. It's one of the first things to go, because you're out there kind of looking at everybody, and you know that's that old shifty-eyed Richard Nixon look, and nobody trusts somebody who's shifty-eyed.
I guess he wasn't a client.
No, he was before our time. But.
Well, and
my time, not Roy's.
So who among the people you have worked with, because the list that we mentioned, they're all pretty good public speakers before you got a hold of them, I'm sure.
Absolutely, yes.
Rudy Giuliani particularly had already, you know, and known as a great orator. But when you got a hold of him, was it before the last Republican convention?
We worked with him as part of his Republican preparations, the Republican convention.
Did he say what he wanted, or what did he need to improve upon?
Well, the script is a whole different scenario. We don't get involved with that, although I will tell one little secret here, and he did get a little off script for a while. There was about 3 or 4 minutes there where he just completely went away from the script.
Is that good, though, because that's genuine?
No, it should be genuine any way you do it. There's a way to be able to... When you're reading a script, there is a way that you can present it so that it always sounds genuine, which is one of the things that we work on with these people. Basically, when you're talking about teleprompters, there's a lot of good ways to use teleprompters and a lot of bad ways, and more often than not, people use it the bad way.
And this is something that we do, being TV people, newscasters, or what have you, every day.
But you usually use it with the one teleprompter in the front. They have what they call the presidential setup, which
one
is
on one side,
one
on the other side.
And a lot of people, what they try to do is, again, they go half over here and half over there, and then they scatter in between, and then they're like going with their eyes like, where's my words, where's my words? And all of these are things that don't come across very well to the audience at home. So these are the kinds of things that we work on specifically. The big thing, what we find the most interesting thing about the conventions is, because it's in such a huge venue, even though we have this wonderful invention called the microphone, people still get out there and start bellowing, trying to reach the back room, and we say, look, you know, you're preaching to the choir here. What you really need to do is talk to the guy that's at home on the camera, sitting on his couch who hasn't decided what to do yet.
Gotcha.
So that's where the one-on-one thing comes from. You got to talk to him like you're having a conversation. You think about President Ronald Reagan.
Okay.
You always felt like he was sitting in your living room, have a conversation with you.
The great communicator, of course.
Exactly,
Right.
and that's because he had that acting background. Now, the reality is actors have about 60 or 70 presentational tools in their toolbox. A good presenter only really needs about 10 or 15 of those, but they're not being taught anywhere. They're obvious for what they are, but they're just not. They're really not in any one place until we've written this
because
book.
no one goes to an acting class.
Well, that's
they
part
should,
of it.
but
And acting classes help a lot, but again, they're not necessary. But Reagan, because he knew all 60 or 70, you know, he was only a B actor. We know that, right? He wasn't like
except in politics, he kind of got to an A
because he knew those 10 and 15 elements.
What about somebody like Colin Powell, though, or for that matter, George W. Bush?
Well, George W. Bush, I only worked with him for a few minutes in '96 when he was still governor, so it obviously didn't stick because he still needs a lot of.
He still needs a lot of.
I'm sorry to say that, but that's true. He's my president. I love him, but you know, he needs a lot of work.
A work in progress.
Yeah, he's a work in progress.
Laura. She'll get him into you.
We're working on that. Laura's has come a long way.
Bill Clinton? He was always. What I had always heard about him is that on a one-on-one situation, so charismatic.
Yes.
How did he do? Did that translate in larger speeches?
Better than most. He's still a very good presenter, and he still, when you watch him making a speech, he still comes across as very amiable, very friendly, very much one-on-one. He doesn't get out there and try to make a speech, which is what a lot of people try to do, and that's where a lot of the mistakes come in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's really simpler than.
It's a lot simpler once you get the concept in your head. See, I always ask the question, when does it become public speaking? If I'm talking to just you, Mary Beth, I'm talking to you, and then okay, Alex comes along, we can talk to him, and it's still a conversation. What's the magic number? Is it 5 people, 10 people, 100 people? At what point does it become
Keep it one-on-one?
One-on-one.
And don't picture anybody naked? That's what they always told us.
Please, Mary Beth, don't take us down that road, please.
And how useful is that information
But
for
seriously, isn't that what they always
They
told
do,
you?
and it's full of all wives' tales, and that's what we do in the book. We say this is why things work and other things don't work, and it's step by step, 1, 2, 3. Here's what you do very specifically.
Awesome.
So
How do
it's
we get the
real
book?
easy. You can get it through my website of there's no such thing as publicspeaking.com, or it's available through Amazon or any other bookstores, and most of the bookstores, I believe, in town have it as well.
All right,
So.
Jeanette, thank you very much for being here this morning.
We
do appreciate it. That was a lot of fun and
Thank you.
very useful information.
Thank you.
More News Channel 3 Live at 9 in just a moment.